Hey guys, Andrew from McNasty Customz here. What we're going to do is going to give you that video you guys all been asking for the 08 to 10 install. We have the 11 to 16 install up, look for that one, but this one right here is the 08 to 10 nose on a 99 to 07 truck. This is a 6.0 dually in the back. The kit will fit on any 99 to 07 gas, diesel truck, Excursion. What we have here is the 08 to 10 kit. This will put an 8, 9, and 10 nose onto that 99 to 07. This is how you receive our kit in the mail. It'll come in this box, and I'm going to describe to you what a few of these brackets are. This here is the passenger side front fender bracket. This is the top of the truck, and this is the driver's side. They go on the top of the fenders there, and this is what will space everything up and give you something to bolt to. This front bracket here, fully adjustable, is where your hood latch goes and goes on the front of your radiator support. So you can adjust your hood up and down, your hood latch up and down. You can get your clearances just exactly where you want them. These are your two front headlight plates. So these, you will trim your headlights and you will use these. It shows you in instructions how to do it. We'll also show you a little bit further down. So these are the two headlights. This is what holds your headlights to the radiator support. And then there's two of these brackets here, little L brackets, which slide into your fender and they go right here above your door hinge on your truck. That is how you will adjust the fender up and down to get your body line. We'll show you that later on as well. You'll receive a bag of hardware with nutserts in it. There's multiple different ways of putting these on a truck. This is the correct way of putting on a truck. This is a threaded insert. It will show you how to install those. It'll thread in and out, and you can remove this kit. Also in the kit, you will get the instructions. And on the first page of the instructions is going to be a parts list and part numbers from some of the Ford parts and so on. So you can also get this on our website. You go into the instruction section. You can see and price out an entire front end of your truck before you ever decide you want to purchase anything from us. Figure out how much it's going to cost you. And the last thing that comes with the kit will be these templates. So what you want to do here, this is for your headlights. What you want to do is you want to take a razor blade and you want to trim the sections out that are in gray and remove them from the templates completely. And you will end up with something along the lines like this when you are done. So these are the hollow cutout templates. You will put these up to your radiator support. You'll trace them with a marker or however it is, and then you'll trim them out. Again, we are also going to show you how to do that and show you exactly what it is. But for now, this is the entire kit that will do the entire nose of the truck. We also have different options. We have options over here which I would like to show you. You don't necessarily need to have these, but you can use these. It's all in what you want to do. These are our front bumper plates. What it does here is these go over your frame rails and it moves your mounting holes down because the nose of the truck is larger and everything is pushed down. So the bumper needs to go down as well. These bumper plates move the bumper down. You don't have to buy these bumper plates. You can mount the bumper onto the truck without the bumper plates, but you're going to drill the frame, you're going to drill the bumper, and you're probably only going to get it on one bolt on each side, which won't be on super strong, but it will be on the truck. A lot of people have been doing it like that. This is the correct way of doing it. If you buy this kit, it comes with all half-inch grade 8 hardware. So this is how to put the bumper on strong and correctly. Again, it's an option kit. You don't need it. Another option we have is the front frame rail inserts. These insert inside your frame, and what you do is you can put a couple of bolts through here. It goes into your original tow hooks, and you can weld around the circumference of the plate, which will box it. It'll make it a lot more rigid. And the little bit of trimming on the frame rail that we'll show you, this will stiffen it right up. It'll be stiffer than stock. These are real cheap, something that you can you put on if you want. You don't have to use them. Another thing we offer the body shop grade shim kit. It's like $30. It's really not much. This is a little bit cleaner way if you want somebody to look under. You don't really see a lot of shims on our trucks with the kit, but if your truck's a little twisted up or something, depending on what parts you use, you're going to maybe need the shim kit as well, and it still looks a little more professional. Like I said, like $30. It's an option. You don't need that. The last thing that we have on the options list will be the insert tool. This is a metric insert tool. It'll give you the ability to put the inserts, the threaded inserts that come in the kit. It'll give you the ability to attach them to the truck. So what you do with this, real simple, is you slide it on, you screw the insert on, you drill a hole in the truck, the same exact size as the body as the insert. This is what the tool will look like. You push it into the hole and you squeeze this together and it'll crush this insert into the hole you drilled. Now you have a threaded insert. You can bolt anything you want. The brackets on and off the truck, very simple, and you know, that's the correct way of doing it. It's the strongest way, it's the nicest way, and it's a removable way. You can remove this truck and you won't have any holes. You'll only have threaded insert holes. So there's a possibility of doing that the correct way is also another option in our store. So we have to modify the hood hinges. This is going to be pretty simple. This is how to do it. This is your stock style hinge, and you use the same hinges for the 08 to 10 that came on your truck. You don't want the 08 to 10 hinges. You want the hood hinges modified that came on your truck, whatever year it is. So your factory holes will be small like that. The first thing that you want to do is you want to oblong these holes out so they're slots. You want to move the holes forward. So the idea behind this is when these are on the truck, you want slack to move the hood forward, as far forward as possible. So on the left and the right side, both holes that were originally like this, you want to slot down. You can do it with a die grinder, you can do it multiple different ways. Die grinder is fast and simple. So that's the first thing you want to do is both sets of holes, so they are oblong like this and no longer rounded like this. So that's the first section, and the second modification are the rear holes. So the rear holes, it's basically the same idea behind it. You're going to oblong the rear holes. So when the hood hinge is on the truck, you want to oblong the back of the hood holes on this one. So you want to go forward with the hood hinge holes, and you want to go back with the truck holes. So still, again, the idea is the same idea. When this is on a truck, you want the hood hinge to come forward. And when you oblong these holes out, the hood can now slide forward. So you want everything to move forward. But that's what the holes will look like. That's what they originally were. And that's where they originally are now. So you just want to go back a 1/4 inch, I would say, and you want to go forward the same 1/4 inch. That'll get you, you bolt the hood on one time on the truck, and you only, you know, that's it. You don't need to take it on, off. You don't want to be doing that. This is what you want to do to get this hood to line up right. This is what you want to do to get it on right, and this is the easiest way of doing it. So this is what the template's going to look like after you trim it out along the lines. You cut the gray areas out. On the template, it's going to have 2 spots that says factory bolt hole. Those factory bolt holes are the 2 factory bolt holes that once held on your headlight support right here. You put 2 bolts through there, through the holes that says factory holes, and you slide the bolts or you screw the bolts into the factory bolt holes, and then you just push the template against the radiator support. And when you do that, everything will fit right into place, and you just trace with a yellow marker, with a piece of chalk, with a any way you want to mark that out. You mark that out that you can see. Obviously, a paint marker, a yellow marker, a white marker, something like that's going to work the best. So you trace these areas, so you no longer need the templates. At this point, you can throw the templates away, and when you're done, you have the marks that you're going to want to trim out. These are the areas you're going to want to trim. This is to get your headlight bracket in here. Some trucks you want to trim up and around this because there's an ABS bolt. This truck here does not have any ABS set up here, so I mean you could trim that straight across whatever you want, but some trucks have a bracket there. You need to trim around that bracket. So the headlight will go here, and our the other section of the headlights on the 08 to 10 will slide in here. The other section on the 11 to 16, this is where our lower grill bracket will sit inside the frame rail right here. It'll sit inside, and you'll bolt it on here, and your lower grill support will go across. So this is the same trimming on both the 08 to 10 and the 11-16 models. These are the same templates. You trim the same holes. You get the same results. So we begin trimming this. I mean, you can use anything you want to trim it. What I found to work the best, you can go in there with a Sawzall. You can drill a couple of holes with a drill and cut it that way. I wouldn't recommend ever using a torch or anything like that, but the easiest way is like this. This is a DeWalt, you know, just a 4-inch flap disc, I mean a 4-inch cutting disc, real thin, 1/8 inch or whatever it is. Just go in here, you trim this stuff up, and just make sure you always wear your safety glasses because, you know, people are crazy nowadays. So when you're done and you got your slots cut, this is just to get a rough idea of what you want to take out of there. You can take that slot out, that slot out. You can take a little bit more. You can cut this entire area out. None of this actually has any structural strength to it anymore. I mean, this is just tin at this point. I mean, you know, so now your headlights are kind of sitting here. Just don't go too deep. What you saw me doing through some of the cuts is I kind of hold the blade on the edge so you come around. This way you don't get in and cut any of the wires or anything. If you know what you're doing and you play with it a little bit, I mean, I'm still on one cutting disc and I did the whole front of the truck. So you don't sit in there and you don't jam it, you don't break the blade, and you don't try to get in nothing too deep. I mean, you can see how close some of these wires are and stuff. So if you just keep the blade on the edge and you just slightly cut the whole way, you'll have nothing to worry about. Obviously, you saw me reach in there and I moved this out of the way and I cut like that. So you can move the little hoses, whatever you have in there. Just don't cut anything important like your tank, or you're not going to have any washer fluid left anymore. This stuff's going to leak on the ground. That's no good. So the first step of the bracket install is going to be on your upper fender brackets. These 3 bolt holes are your original 3 bolt holes that held your fender on your truck originally. Once your fender's off, they are going to line up with the 3 bolt holes in the bracket. The bracket has a nut welded on the back side of it to put the ball stud in so you can put your hood strut on. So this is it needs to sit inside of a hole that you're going to drill right here with a 1/2 inch drill bit. So first things first, look underneath the holes, make sure there's nothing there that you're going to fry yourself on, no wires, make sure there's no obstructions, make sure you wear your safety glasses, put a 1/2 inch drill bit and simply drill out this center bolt hole. Okay, so once you have the center hole here drilled out with the 1/2 inch drill bit, you're going to be pretty much ready to install your left fender bracket. The front has a stud welded in it, and this is, you remove your hood stop and the plastic hood stop. You remove that off the truck so it looks like that, and you can screw it in. We put a nut on there so we can lock it into place where it is where we want it, but as of right now we can move it up and down. The nut welded on the back side of the bracket will sit inside the hole, and the round, bigger 1/2 inch holes will sit above your factory holes. So all that does is it sits right inside this hole, so you can't move it. Now if you look down, straight in the center of that hole is going to be your original hood bolt. Straight in the center of that hole is going to be your original hood bolt. We get lined up, push it flat here, and you center all your holes up. Look straight down, center your holes up, and you pick what hole you want to put an insert in. Doesn't really matter which one it is, can be any one that you want it to be into. And for now, we're going to put a self-tapper in there. And this bracket, with that one self-tapper, is already held into place. So what you're going to do down the road is you're going to hang your fender on top of this. The bolts are going to go back in the original bolt holes, and it's going to sandwich the bracket in there, spacing everything up, moving your hood stop, and giving you the exact spaces that you need. You need to do that on both sides. Install a bracket, very simple, just like that. After you have the upper fender supports in place and held in spot, I mean, I just hold them in. And what I do is I install the whole kit with the self-tappers and just get this thing to stay in a place where you want to go. So you get the 2 upper fender supports in, and then you want to move on to the hood latch. The hood latch is very simple to do. These would roughly be your original holes that go right here and hold your hood latch on. So you just want to kind of line those up. More or less, this needs to be centered in the truck. That's the basic behind the thing. But if you watch your holes here and you line them above here, you can see right where they are. That's exactly where that wants to go. It's pretty much right there. That's the center of the truck. What I like to do is I like to take a small torpedo level. This one has a magnet on it. You stick it on the front, and I can see where this bracket is. And I already drilled holes here. I already set this up to make it fast for the video install. That's pretty much that. I mean, you just tack it in. We're pretty straight. We're not dead level, but we want to be as close to dead level as possible. You don't want the bracket rolled too far forward because your hood latch is going to go on there and that's going to roll forward. So what you want to do is you just want to get it as straight level as possible. when you removed your front end, you just hung your hood latch down. We actually swapped to the 08 one here because in the 08 one, it has an optional cable that goes in this hole and goes down to a remote cable where you can remove it. If you have a grill that you can reach your hand into, you can reach your hand and you can move the safety and lift the hood up. You don't need the cable. If you have a grill like we're going to use on this one, which is a Harley grill or a mesh grill or something you can't reach in, you're going to have to hook the cable and run it remote under, because the grill is attached to the hood. So you can't touch this at all unless you have a cable if you can't reach through the grill. But that's very simple. You hang the bracket onto the front of the truck, you drill out. Now, on older trucks in the 7.3s, there's a bracket that sits on top of this that'll already have holes. This truck doesn't have any of these holes, so you want to pick whatever holes you want to pick. You want to drill them. You can put the nut certs in when you're done and then reattach that back on. When it's ready, you simply, when it's installed on a truck the right way for finishing, not just self-tappers, you do not want to use self-tappers to put the nose on the truck and leave it that way. You only want to use the self-tappers for mock-up. And then it's very simple. The latch goes right back on the front. Use the supplied washers, supplied bolts, and supplied nuts. And now this latch is going to be mounted onto the truck. Clearly you want to do both sides. And it's adjustable up and down now. So I'll show you real quick. We can move this up and down quite a bit, the way this bracket's designed. So you're only going to really know where this is. You kind of set it high if you want, and you snug it up. And when you close your hood, for the first time, when you go in there, this is best to do with no grill on the truck. When you go, you close your hood, and you'll look at where your hood is referenced to your fenders, and you can tell if your hood is too high. Then you just loosen this a little bit, and you move it down a tiny bit, 1/4 inch. Reclose your hood, check where it is with your fenders and in your body line. If it's still too high, you just keep moving this down to where you want it. And then when you finally get the hood to where you want it, you adjust these stoppers to make sure the hood stops on it and locks all into one place. So what you want to do now is, once you got all your holes drilled, after you put your self-tappers in, you marked your holes, you drill your holes with 11/64 drill bit, you want to come in and you want to put the inserts. The size of the body of the nut certs are 11/64. That's why you want to use an 11/64 drill bit. What happens is the inserts go inside the hole and there's no room to play. This is how you use this nut cert tool. It's very simple. What you do is you take your nut cert, this is what it looks like closed, you take your nut cert, you open it up, you screw the cert on until you probably have 2 threads sticking out of the top. This is where the handle will now be. You slide the nut cert into the hole, you push it flat against it, and you pull the 2 triggers, the 2 handles together, which will squish the nut cert. It'll stay in there. Now you have a threaded insert in the truck. What you do is you reverse the threads and back it off. I'll show you one more time so you can see exactly what it is, and now you have a nut cert sitting inside the metal. What the nut cert does is it squishes this nut cert. The tool squishes the nut cert and it leaves a little brim on the back. There's a little brim on the front, and now it'll leave a little brim on the back, and that's what locks it into place. So you set it to where it's about 2 threads out. You play with it a little bit, 3 threads out. You slide it into the hole, you push down so it's flat, and you pull the 2 handles together. Sometimes it's tougher than others. Then you just reverse the threads. And now you have an insert, very firm, push down, nice and tight. That's the insert. And an insert is very clearly, you could just thread a bolt in and out of it. Here's a bolt, and now it's locked into place. So, and you put these in, this is how you hold it to the truck. This, what I'm holding in my hand, is like, if you don't have a nut cert tool, this doesn't work as good, but it will work. This is how you do it. You take a long bolt, as hard as you can. This is a 10.9 metric. You screw a nut onto it, just like I did there. and then you take the nutsert, you screw the nutsert onto the bolt, you slide it into the hole like that, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hold this top of the bolt with a wrench, 10 millimeter in this case, and you want to get another 10 millimeter and you want to turn the nut. By doing that, you're going to squish this. This is a homemade nutsert tool. It will work. It's tough. It doesn't work the greatest, but it will work. It's doing the same idea as the nutsert tool, but it's obviously, you know, this is the cheap way of doing it. And that's what it'll look like once you have the bolts in it properly. You can move your hood latch up and down. I mean, this thing's on there. And then you obviously snug these, just slightly snug these to get this in place. But like I said, start at the highest point, snug them with your hands, and then when you're ready to close the hood, give them a little snug and then drop the hood. But this is what your hood latch looks like installed. All right, before you get installing any of your fenders, what you want to do is you want to take some tin snips. I already did it. And you want to snip. So here is the center of your wheel right here. You want to come back 5 to 6 inches. This one has a hole, some of them don't. And you want to go forward 5 to 6 inches. So here's the center. You want to come to roughly here and here. And you want to snip. 1 inch snip in and 1 inch snip. So you're making this outside brim into 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. This will help you tuck it under the fender when you go later on using the factory wheel wells in here. So that's what you want to do. You want to put a 1 inch snip here and a 1 inch snip over here on both sides. Before you install the fenders, the next part of the install, you want to do this. You want to install these 2 little L brackets onto the fenders before you hang the fenders. What I like to do is I like to slide the bolt in, start to bolt it in, but I like to use a 1/4 inch washer, the smaller one, and then the 3/8 larger one that I supply in the kit. So it looks just like that. And then all you do is simply, so you start it, you simply slide it over. You push it all the way towards the outside of the truck, so as far in the fender as you possibly can, and you snug it with your hand. So that's what it will look like. You snug it in there, and that'll just hold it in place. Then all you really have to do at that point is, some trucks, very minor trimming is needed at the very bottom. You can do this afterwards. You can just pull this down and hang the fender. But I just trimmed this one, and this is all I trimmed. This little tiny little round edge right off the edge right here. That's all I trimmed off of that. And this little like overlap piece that sits right at the bottom. That's all I did with trim. That's all you need to trim for that. So you make the 2 snips up top with the 1 inch with the sheet metal clips, and that little bit of trimming right there is all that you need to do to get this plastic inner fender well. Then you just roll the fender underneath. Just be careful you don't scratch the door. That's why I got orange tape on there. Set the fender up into place and just use any long bolt for now in the middle hole will hold the fender onto the truck. Real simple like that. You can basically get an idea of where the fender is going to be for starts. So once you have your fender placed up on top of your truck, you just want to keep the door taped off, whatever you want to do, and you can use 2 bolts into the factory lower of the fender. It's usually 2 of the bigger washers that I use on the back side will get it to line up with the door, but that's just shimming. That's whatever you have to do. And then once these 2 bolts in, I don't have them snugged up, I have them in place. Your fender will hold itself in place, and then when you come around here to the front, I mean, I'm using all brand new bolts so you can see the stuff. You can use factory bolts so you don't see them. So the rear factory bolt, the rear bolt will go through the fender, through the bracket, and into the factory hole. Real simple. The center one, you will use a ball stud in, just like that one. And in the front, there's a couple different ways of doing this. This is one this is one of the 2 longer bolts I supply in the kit. They're much longer than any of the other bolts. So, because there's a gap here. So you can either use this bolt in the front here, and you can see that there is Still a little bit of adjustment that you can still use with it. Or what some people are having issues is this gap right here in the hood is usually bigger right here in the front with some people's trucks. So what you need to do is, there's two separate ways of fixing this. You can remove this bolt. Now you can oblong the hole out a little bit right here in the fender, and that will allow you to push the fender in closer to the truck and give you a body line. Or you can just not use the long bolt, get a short bolt and nut, and you can, it's a little tight to get in there, you can slide the nut from underneath, because I can see my finger right here, and you put a short bolt in there. That'll give you a lot more play, and just bolt it from hole, use washers, and bolt the holes together. This bracket, once you have this bracket bolted in and not with a self-tapper, it's bolted in here, it's bolted in here, and all this is doing is spacing the fender up. It's not crucial. This is a strong bracket, way thicker than the sheet metal factory right here that you can see. This thing's 4 times thicker than the metal. So this is much stronger than what it was originally. And so a lot of people have issues with this front mounting hole right here, depending on the truck, the parts used, and so on. The long bolt slides in, and you can obviously find the hole and bolt it into place. And it's pushing the fender all the way. Now, if this fender line needs to go closer to the hood, exactly what I just said, you can oblong this hole out a little bit right here towards the fender, so the fender will go in more, or you can put a small nut and bolt, so you're not using the main hole anymore, and you put a small nut and bolt, and this gives you a terrible amount more space to use. So that's just that's an alignment trick tip. So you can play with that, and that gives you a tip on how to get this line. When we're done with the install of the hood and stuff, you'll see what I'm saying. A lot of the lines are good up here, and the fender starts to bow out. And as the fender bows out, it has too much of a gap right here. So this is how to fix that gap, is right here in that hole, and that'll move the front of the fender. Okay, so we have to trim the headlights to fit this kit. So what you want to do is, the headlight bracket will sit inside this headlight like this. So anything back here we no longer need. This is going to be your new mount. You're not going to use these as mounts. So all you have to do is trim it. It's not really that hard. So where you got your straight line, just run a piece of tape over it. Now you know exactly where you need to cut. Again, like I said, I use the 4-inch grinder. You can use whatever you want. 4-inch grinder with a cutting disc usually cuts pretty nice. Just be careful not to wreck your headlight. Put something down that you can put on the headlight on, just to keep it protected. And just zip that off, usually straight down. And watch for flying plastic. It'll get hot and it will fly. You get that off, you can trim the back a little bit if you want to. You can trim it down at a 45-degree angle, however you want, you know, just to clean it up a little bit. I mean, it really doesn't matter. Trim these off. Very simple. Always wear safety glasses and peel your tape off. Clean this up. You can clean it up with a razor blade, peel the plastic off. Nobody's ever going to see this, but you can clean it up. You can sand it. You can make it smooth, whatever you want to do. And now, like I said, your plate always goes with the bump up, and it sits right inside the headlight. So once you get it to that point, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to drill the holes, and it'll bring you to an area in the back where you can put a nut and a bolt. And what you do is you simply, once you drill the hole, you simply take a bolt, you slide it through, you put a washer and a nut on the back side, and you bolt these on. You bolt them onto your headlight. It's that simple. You do that to both sides, and then your headlights are pretty much ready to install into the fender. Your headlight now in the newer truck will clip in, and that's it. I mean, you basically line it up to your fender, and you clip it right into the truck. That's obviously the bottom. So this bracket doesn't really get used on the top. If you want to trim it off, you can trim it off. If you want to fool around with it, once it's on the truck, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't really get in the way. So, you know, this will be the top of your fender. It'll clip in, and on the very bottom of your fender, if you bought aftermarket and you don't have the plastic clip to put the factory screw in, you simply put, the fender will be right here. You simply use a nut bolt washer, you bolt the headlight to the fender. That's simple. So the headlight will be bolted in from this bottom one, and it'll be clipped in like that one. Okay, once you have your headlight trimmed in the back, and you have the bracket bolted on, I mean, this is pretty simple. You just want to clip your headlight into the fender. You got to look back here, make sure nothing's really touching, making sure you don't really have anything in the way. You know, we're doing a mock-up here, so we're not doing this exactly, but you want to clip in all your headlights when you're ready. Anything 05 and up will have an H13 plug, and that'll plug right into the 08 bulbs. The marker lights, all that stuff clips right in. You got the small little marker light in here, you got your directional up top. All that stuff will clip right into these lights on the newer trucks. And the only thing you'll have to change on anything older is an H13 bulb, which is a 3-wire. Positive, low beam, positive, high beam, and negative. That's all you have to do, so that's no wiring at all. Or you can find plug-ins that plug from the older style truck to the H13 bulb. That'll save you a lot. You don't have to do any wiring at that. But like I said earlier, this fender clips in. So this is the fender clips for the headlight. You want to go there. It's this simple. This is all it is to it. Just take your headlight, line it up to the fender, push it in. It's actually held in place. Like I said earlier, you take your nut and your bolt and your washer. If you don't have the factory one is held in with a screw. There's a plastic clip that goes in the fender, and then there's a little screw that holds the headlight to it. If you don't have that, just use a nut, bolt, and washer like I just showed you. This headlight is now attached to this fender. This is it. I mean, you can move it around, you do what you got to do. You don't attach anything yet, and when you are ready to attach it, you're going to drill the 2 holes right here, put the nut certs in, however you want to put that in. What I like to do is, you obviously can't do any of this until the hood is on. You need to get your alignment here first before you do any more. But when you are ready, you just take a level and you put it at the bottom of the headlight, and you find where level is, and you can move this thing all around. This will move the fender for right now until we figure out where we want to be. But you can push it down, up top. You know, whatever you want to do, you find level is what you want to do. If you find level here, then you'll have relative level here. This is where the grill goes up and down. So you want the headlight to be up and down straight with your grill up and down straight. You don't want your headlight crocked on each side. And this is all you do. If you have it in here, you can move this fender in, you can pull the fender out, and the headlight goes with it. So what the next step of this is, now that we have headlights in, fenders in, you want to, at this point right now, because we're only doing fitment, you want to lower the bracket as far as you can, because we're not really trying to hood latch anything. Lower that down as much as you can. Get your hood hinges both onto the truck like I just did. Get your hood hinges ready. Alright guys, so we got the 08 to 10 nose onto this truck. The 08 to 10 is a slightly, the Ford 08 to 10 is slightly wider than the 99 to 07. So the front bolt holes on the brackets, sometimes you have to play with the fender meat to get the fender in. It's tough, man. I mean, some people, there's no bolt-on kit that's going to make something wide that fit something skinnier. So you just have to play with it a little bit. If you look right here, we're into this truck right now about 4 hours. 4 or 5 hours at the max. And I mean, look at our lines. The lines are pretty straight, pretty straightforward. Everything fits exactly where it needs to be. Over here on the opposite side, on the passenger side, we got a dented fender that came dented, and it's got a little tweak in it. And even with the tweak, you can see it's a little low right here, but you know, the rest of the hood is fine. We have a slight tweak where the dent is. We still have real good body lines, and if you come over here, you can see, I mean, This Fender's got a couple little nicks and dings in it, but you can see that we have a real good body line all the way from top to bottom. So we have it all the way around. We have the hood, other than where that tweak is in that Fender, and we're really decent to where we want to be. So, I mean, with a little tweaking, I mean, obviously we're not finished, but with a little bit of tweaking, we only have about an hour and a half maximum of playing with body lines. This kit is going to require you playing with the truck to get it just right. It's not going to bolt on and, instantly, and you turn a couple of nuts and it's bolted up. A lot of these people installing these videos are not body guys. There's a reason why a lot of people are not body guys. The reason is because body work is real tough with shims and playing. And that's something that's got to be done with this. So if you're going to try this at home on your driveway, you need to understand there is going to be some playing with the body lines. There is going to be some trimming. There is going to be this and that. But the kit will get you there. It'll get you spaced out, and it'll get you lined up. So all together, maybe we're into this truck for at a maximum 6 hours all together, and the nose is on the truck, and it's pretty much ready to go. Obviously, we have to do a little bit more for the bumper. But that's all we're doing for tonight. I mean, you look at the body lines yourself. You make your own decisions. People are complaining. It's all in the person putting the body on. It's not in the kit. It's not in the parts. Usually not in the parts. Some aftermarket doesn't fit. This is all Ford OEM parts. We have Harley-Davidson headlights for it, but we're mocking it up with these first. We have original Harley-Davidson headlights, so those are very expensive. We want to get the truck where we want it first before we chop OEM headlights. But, I mean, you take a look at it and you can see exactly what's going on with all the lines and so on.